Before we begin, this episode refers to child sexual abuse. It contains strong language, and language some listeners may find offensive. Okay, I think that's Nigel's just turned up. I'm back at Alder Copse in the Sussex countryside, about 15 miles from the south coast of England. Nigel.
Hi, Colin.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Alder Copse is a small patch of woodland in the middle of a field where the partial remains of 8-year-old Vishal Mehrotra were discovered in 1982. As I was looking at initial police reports into Vishal's murder, I spotted the name of a witness, Nigel, and I managed to track him down. He's agreed to meet me here to tell me what he saw at this very spot more than 4 decades ago. I'm very grateful for you coming along because I know you saw a lot and you haven't been back here. When was the last time you were back?
I've travelled past here many times, but not obviously to dwell on the place as perhaps we will today. But yeah, it's rather poignant in a way that it's been as many years as it is that still somebody's taken, and I'm pleased that they're still taking an interest in it.
So have you spoken to anybody about this publicly in the last 41 years at all?
No.
Done any interviews at all?
No.
I'm Colin Campbell. From BBC Studios, this is Vishal. The true story of a boy who went missing while the world looked the other way. The story of his family and the story of the investigation into Vishal's disappearance. Chapter 5. The School. Alder Copse is right beside a main road, the A272. If you head east along this road, after 25 miles, you'll reach the turnoff for Muntham House School, which, although it wasn't Vishal's school, is becoming central to our investigation. I'll be heading there later, but first, we need to hear from Nigel. Was it August 1981? July 1981. What were you doing at the time? What was your job and why were you in this area?
I'd been working as an AI man, as an artificial insemination technician, visiting farms, and my last farm calls were over near Midhurst. And after I'd done my last farm calls, I drove from Midhurst back through Rogate on the A272 here, and that's when I saw the Black Lancia pulled in, at the side of the road, and saw 2 younger guys, Asian guys, out in the field carrying fertiliser bags towards the middle of the field. I'm pretty sure that whoever I saw out in that field carrying those bags towards the cops were, if they hadn't killed the young lad, then they certainly were responsible for putting the remains over in the cops, which is, at some point or another, they were part and parcel to what had gone on.
7 months later, when Vishal's remains were discovered, Sussex police set up a mobile unit at the side of the road, appealing for people to come forward with information if they'd seen anything suspicious. Nigel went along to tell them what he had witnessed.
The police officer that was on duty in the caravan just took my details at the time, said that somebody would be in touch, and in due course they certainly were. They then asked me if I would be prepared to undergo hypnotherapy. Then under hypnotherapy I remembered something else. When the guy asked me, he actually said to me, "So you're coming up towards the back of the car, what happened then? Did you stop or did you keep driving?" And I said, "Well, I slowed down as I passed the car and glanced to my left, and in the back seat of the car there was what appeared to be a woman with a sari on, and that's what I saw." But I hadn't remembered that before. It was weird to actually, even though it's only a small detail, the fact that I was under hypnotherapy, I remembered that, and yet I'd not recalled it before.
In 2017, Sussex Police reviewed its original inquiry into Vishal's death. Some of what witnesses had told detectives back at the time is described in detail. Nigel and I have a look at that report. I want to ask him about some things he might have said that don't add up. So this was the part that I'm really interested in, because the first part of your description was you describe a man who is of Middle Eastern origin,
Right.
which is slightly different to Asian or Indian, isn't it? Middle Eastern origin, which would make me think he's slightly lighter skinned.
No.
Because lower down you identified a man of European appearance with them, you see. And that was your very first, so that's why I got kind of slightly confused that it then morphs into after hypnosis, it morphs into a group of Indian people, whereas initially you say, it's on the next page, the man crouching down at the thing was, you described to them as European.
A European man who was crouched beside his particular, but no, I don't remember that. Was he European, or was he half caste, or was he Asian? Because when he is crouched down, and I don't remember describing any of them as being European, not at all. I recall Asian men, and that was it. You say you've got the information there from the police report. I'd almost be interested to just sort of check up on exactly what it was I did remember at the time, because it's very clouded now, 41 years later.
Yeah.
To try and pull exact details out of the hat.
Yeah.
So, but at the time, as I say, it was all fresh in my mind, and it had all recently happened, and I kind of hoped that the information I was giving them would be of more use than it was.
Have you taken yourself to that place where you've thought or considered what you could have witnessed was Vishal's murderers with parts of his body being taken into Holdercops?
That's a horrible thought, but that's what I could have been witnessing at the time, and that's for a period after I first gave the witness account. It was on my mind virtually the whole time then.
So it really properly messed with your head for a while.
Oh yeah, for a time I was quite sleepless. I was sort of, the moment I would be sort of on my own and relaxed, as it were, the thoughts would sort of come back to your head. Well, I think anybody with a conscience with something like that they've seen, is bound to sort of pull themselves apart in respect of the way I did.
Nigel is friendly enough, and I can tell that he really does want to help, but I'm also starting to feel like I'm taking the wrong approach here. I found his details in a list of witnesses and raced off to meet him. While it's really hard for anyone to remember things from over 40 years ago, I'm troubled that even the details given back at the time vary, from seeing a group of men, then also a woman, who were first European, then Middle Eastern, then of Asian appearance. Witness memories fade to the point that they could send me off in completely the wrong direction. These investigations are difficult enough at the time, but now, 4 decades later, I'm wondering if it's impossible. I keep thinking of Sean, the retired detective who gave me the tip-off about the document titled Vishal, written by the convicted paedophile who worked at the school. I remember what Sean said to me.
We need to have a picture of who lived at the school during the summer of 1981. So we've got victims, pupils, and then a list of people who were living at the school, all of whom could have valuable information for us.
Muntham House is a Victorian mansion. On the surface, it looks like something out of a Gothic fairy tale. It's set in 23 acres of beautiful West Sussex countryside. The house was turned into a boarding school in 1953, set up by the Ministry of Education as somewhere for difficult boys with behavioural problems to be sent. Many of these boys came from West London. The school had an arrangement with one of the local authorities there to take their most challenging boys away for a new start, far from the city. Today, Muntham House School has an outstanding reputation for its work with young people with social and emotional difficulties, and its safeguarding policies are seen as exemplary. But in this episode, we're going to meet some former pupils who were here when things were very different. 40 years ago, in the early 1980s, around the time Vishal disappeared.
I was taken there by my social worker. He told me it's a nice place, people are nice, a really good school from what he said. And I'll be able to, once I settle in, I'll be able to visit my parents, my family at the weekends.
Can you remember the journey?
I mean, obviously going through London, it was all traffic and But then as we started getting further away, it was scary because it was almost like going into the wilderness, you know? Because it was just trees. I remember one road where we went through where the trees actually met each other. And it was like, wow, what the hell is this, you know? But eventually when we got to the school grounds, it was Hammer House of Horrors building type, you know? It was frightening.
I mean, being a 10-year-old lad, it was like huge for me.
The building?
Scary. Yeah, it was old, very old. You had bars up the windows, looked like a prison camp. The look of the place looked like it was something out of the Addams Family. Big place like that.
I try to remember the good things, you know. I try to remember the oak tree that's really big. It's right at the front, and we were allowed to climb it and swing off of it. And the swimming pool in the back, the tennis court, the snooker hall, table tennis area. I remember some good times.
The former pupils who've agreed to speak to me, they're all survivors of child sexual abuse here, inflicted by the group of paedophiles we started to hear about in the last episode. In the 1990s, they began to come forward to police, and their abusers went on trial. As a journalist, I was able to obtain some of the trial records, and I've managed to track down several former pupils to ask for their help. Survivors of sexual abuse have the right to lifelong anonymity, but these men have waived that right to talk to us about this. It's important to hear their testimony.
At any time you want to stop, just say, I don't really want to discuss that. I want to have a timeout or whatever, okay? It's entirely you are in control. Any stage you want to have a break, we can just have a breather.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the...
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay.
These former pupils, they've told us a lot, but we're limiting what we play here to things potentially relevant to the case of Vishal Mehrotra. As I spoke to these survivors, one name kept coming up again and again.
I remember going through this corridor, and that's where I met Mr. Douglas. Hello, and what's your name? And that was the first person I met. Very, very charming, lovely and caring, genuine, kind man.
Nick Douglas, he used to scare me because he was a big guy. He was a massive guy. He was tall, man, and he was exactly like the Honey Monster.
With his stubble, glasses, short hair. He looked like the Honey Monster. That's what most of us used to call him. Right? Monster's the right word. It's the right one. He was a very clever man. He'd play you just to get what he wanted.
Nicholas Douglas was a staff member at the school, although he wasn't a teacher.
Douglas was a house parent, yeah.
Or meant to be.
What did a house parent mean? What was his job? What was his role at
What was he meant to be?
What was he meant to be? Yeah.
He meant to be there for people who had problems if there was...
He should have been providing you with pastoral care.
Oh, yeah. That's what he's meant to do, isn't it? If you're an house parent, a parent is meant to mean something.
Douglas had his own private flat inside the school, right next to the boys' dormitories. There, he was able to leverage the sometimes tough world of the school and the vulnerabilities of the boys who were sent there.
It was like a parent. It was like replacing my mother and father, especially my mother, having this man who was so kind to me and put me in and watched the television like I was at home and settled me in. For refuge, to watch Grange Hill, to have a coffee. The cigarettes were on the side and there was no objection to taking one, and the drink. And then the verbal words of grooming. Does your mother ever cuddle you? Does she ever give you a cuddle? And that was the instigation of what was going to be the start of the sexual, and on 2 occasions, quite violent physical abuse. And of course, at 10, I didn't even know what sex was. I was a little boy. I had no idea what it was about other than this was kindness.
Would you have described Douglas's offending against you as violent?
He'd do things to you. Some things could hurt you. You know, when he left me alone, I quite liked because I felt guilt. But no, there was no one. There was no help. He was stuck. There was just nowhere. And you do that.
It started off with one evening when I was really upset, and Douglas said to me, "Don't worry, relax," or whatever, and he started massaging my back. And that's how it started. I felt ashamed afterwards and I couldn't tell anybody. And then the next day he came and told me I shouldn't worry about that. You know, I was upset. He made it out that he did what he could to, so I wouldn't be stressed out.
He did it in a way that you just kind of bowed down to doing anything. You know, it was like nobody else is there for you. I'm the only one. I'm the only one who gives a shit. I will come and check up on you. I'll make sure that you're safe. The worst thing he ever did was he took away the little boy. You know, he murdered the little boy in me. Couldn't be a little boy anymore. I didn't know how to be.
As these boys became men in the 1990s with enormous courage, they started coming forward and speaking out. Consequently, 4 people were investigated by police for abuse at the school, including Nicholas Douglas. And it was at this crucial moment, while searching his property, that police found a folder with the name Vishal written on the front. It dated back to 1983, but no one in Sussex Police made any connection to the case of the murdered boy Vishal Mehrotra, whose body was found in the same county just a year before that. Of the 4 men being investigated for the abuse at the school, only 3 stood trial in 1998: Nicholas Douglas, John Higgins and Thomas Logan. The 4th man, James Russell, managed to flee the UK while he was on police bail during the investigation. And as recently as 2021, Sussex Police said they still don't know where he is, but believed he was somewhere in Asia. The remaining 3, Douglas, Higgins and Logan, all received long sentences for multiple counts of sexual abuse, but no one investigated why on earth Douglas also had a folder with the name Vishal written on it. I don't know how I'm going to find that out yet. But I'm thinking back to what Jackie and Sean, the retired police detectives, said to me, that if there is a connection to Vishal's disappearance, I need to be able to place this group of offenders as close as possible to the Upper Richmond Road in Putney in southwest London in the summer of 1981. That's where Vishal was last seen alive. As I mentioned, a number of boys at this school originally came from the edges of West London, but none close to Putney. And then I receive a call that chills me.
So I'm on my way up to London. It's 5 in the morning. I'm on my way up to meet a man called Mick. He's a former pupil and he was really badly abused by 4 of the men: Nick Douglas, John Higgins, Thomas Logan and James Russell. Now he's told us that at least 2 of the men were picking him up from his family home and then taking him out and abusing him in their cars and elsewhere.
He tells me this happened out of term time.
But there is a really significant bit of information he's revealed, and that is that he was being abused by one of those men at a property in Kew. Now he doesn't know exactly where, but he has volunteered to take me there to identify the property. This property is a 15-minute ride from the Upper Richmond Road, a property which could be really significant in trying to understand what was happening in 1981. Because we now know, it seems, that the Muntham abusers were abusing at an address relatively close to where Vishal was abducted. Hello mate, how you doing? That's my recorder, are you alright? I stuck it to the dashboard with a bit of blue tack, so if it comes up flying towards you, I'm sorry.
We set off towards Kew Gardens.
So you believe that the property that we're going to, that Douglas
visited that property?
100%, right? He was either there when James was doing them things to me, or he had been there. Because his stuff was there.
The James, who he says abused him at this property, is James Russell, Jim Russell. He's the man who fled the country and escaped the trial in the 1990s, and is presumably still at large.
That is the road there.
Okay, I'll spin it round and... You're right.
Yeah.
And you haven't been back here in...
No.
40 years.
No.
We spend some time looking around one of the leafiest, most desirable parts of London.
It's one of these 3 houses here. For definite.
Mick stops me outside a beautiful brick-fronted Georgian townhouse that backs onto the River Thames.
Garden had a wooden summer house.
He's telling me, though, how he was brought to this property as a boy in the summer of 1981 to be abused. How are you feeling being back here?
It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant at all. But it's...
Was Vishal Mehrotra also brought to this property to be abused? Or had the person who abducted him been at this house on the day of the royal wedding? James said it was his friend's house.
Yeah. He just said it was their friends.
But you never met that friend?
No.
How many times do you think you came there?
I think twice.
You're right.
Yeah, no, it's shit to remember. Makes me feel fucking disgusting, really.
You were a child, though, Mick.
Yeah, I know that, but you can't.
At any stage, when you want me to turn this off, you just tell me, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Just as we had a chance.
From the court records, we know that James Russell and the man who wrote the Vishal document, Nicholas Douglas, were friends and abusing children at the time Vishal disappeared in 1981. Russell didn't work at Muntham House School, though. Who introduced you to Jim Russell?
Douglas. Because Jim Russell, first of all, he came to the school a couple of times, and I think he had like little adventures with some boys there, and then...
Douglas was facilitating abuse, was providing children for Russell.
Or it almost felt like we was pimped by him. But not necessarily for money, for a favour back from another nonce.
What could Russell have done for Douglas?
Anything. If he had access to fucking anyone. When you got a person that's like that Russell was, I'd say he'd abuse his own children and his relations' children. Because that's just the type of fucking people that they are.
He was picking boys up off the street.
100% he would be. You can't have that type of craving, can you, and it not be satisfied?
At this point, Mick is speculating based on his own experiences with James Russell. But being so close to where Vishal was last seen does raise a question for me. Do you think that there would be any reason for Jim Russell to perhaps abduct an Indian boy?
Repayment to Douglas for something? Because Douglas does like an Indian boy. The man's obviously got a sexual appetite for Indian boys. Where's your next Indian boy coming from?
Thanks, Mick, for taking me there.
To be honest, right, when the court case was over, I did not want nothing more to do with it, right? And then when you said about that little boy and the suspicion of them doing something to him, it really sparks that if you can help, then you've got to do something. Dave, they're going to carry on doing this, especially James, wherever he is, he's going to be doing this sort of thing.
Mick himself has never had justice for the abuse he says James Russell inflicted on him. Russell fled the country before the trial, and 23 years after that, UK police said they still weren't able to find him, though they believed he's somewhere in Asia. We'll be coming back to Mick and this house in Kew later. But something he said there really struck me. Two of the survivors we've been hearing from, both pupils at Mick's old school, are of South Asian heritage, and both were abused by Nicholas Douglas and his friends in the early 1980s. That's really important to note, not least because of Vishal's heritage. He was born in India. For these men, the sexual abuse happened alongside the relentless racial abuse they were encountering growing up in early 1980s Britain.
I remember going to school when I was about 13. I mean, you know, boarding school was, there were a few black boys there, but they were seniors, so they'd established themselves, they weren't getting any grief. I was called all the names, Packy, Dick Turbin. The teachers used to call me Boo Boo. The maths teacher, if he wanted to tell me to shut up, he'd say, "Oi, pack it in." And all the boys used to laugh because he got the word Packy in, you know? You got to understand, back in those days, we didn't matter.
When I meet another one of these survivors with South Asian heritage, we're calling him Kabir, he shows me a photo of himself at the time.
How old were you in this photo?
About 11. 11's what? About 11, I think.
And how would you describe yourself physically as a
I
child?
was a skinny little kid. I wasn't a hard kid. I wasn't no tough kid.
An attractive child, though.
Very. I was a very cute boy. Very cute. Anywhere I went, I used to always get told I was very cute. You know what I mean?
This is a photo of Vishal. What do you think when you look at that photo?
I mean, do you know what frightened me? Because that looks like me as a kid. That looks so badly like me. I mean, that smile, the way he is, that's exactly the way I was.
How does that leave you feeling?
You're scared, frightened, because of the fact that what's happened to him could have happened to me.
I spend a period of months locating and speaking to survivors of the abuse at Muntham House School. It's brutally hard to hear all this, but with every conversation I get a better sense of their abusers and how they operated. Sean, our retired detective, who came to me with the tip-off in the first place, explained that Sussex police didn't do enough to fully investigate any potential links between Vishal's case and the abuse at the school. These survivors tell me that they have never been spoken to by the police about this, and every conversation I have makes me more incredulous that the police just aren't interested in what they have to say. In one chat, I hear something astonishing, which is later confirmed by other survivors. Their school was almost an hour's drive from where Vishal's body was found, and that distance has always felt substantial to me. However, one day I'm told that Nicholas Douglas's mother lived in the village of Esbourne. When I look it up on the map, incredibly, Esbourne is only a 12-minute drive from Rogate, where Vishal's remains were discovered. Various survivors tell me that Douglas would sometimes take these children to his mother's house and abuse them there, including Kabir.
Can you remember where you were taken by Douglas?
To his mum's. She knew what was going on. She knew what he did. Of course she knew what was going on. She's sleeping in a room just a couple of feet away. He's got the room over that side, and yet he came into my room and she couldn't hear nothing. Don't be silly, man. She knew exactly what he did in the morning. She just behaved like nothing was happening and made breakfast. What would you like for breakfast? And
So why do you think she even allowed that to happen?
she's a frail old girl. When I say she was a frail old girl, she weren't so frail when I saw her. No, she weren't. She was a woman with all her faculties. And she knew what was going on. She could never say she didn't know. The fact that you got a fucking Indian kid, it's different if it was a white kid there with them, you know what I mean? He could make any, but there's a totally different race in the house, man. But she didn't even look me in the face or nothing like that.
These survivors have spent their lives trying to move on from what was done to them as children by men who were supposed to be looking after them. They decided to speak to me because they felt it was important that any minute connection to Vishal's murder is investigated. I don't know their abusers, yet. I have no idea whether they could abduct and murder a child, but I notice that as I leave them, each survivor is keen to underline what they think these men are capable of.
I don't think any paedophile would care about anybody else's life. It's a game. All we are is a toy to them. And they ain't going to give a toss. They just use it, abuse it and throw it away. Douglas ain't no better than that.
Well, do you think you could kill a child?
Yeah, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Yeah. And I really do feel for that family, I'll tell you that. I hate him to this day. I hate him. And that's the honest truth. I hate him with a passion. Before I went to get help, all I wanted to do was burn him. And that's the truth. I just wanted a bit of paraffin. And that's what I wanted to do. I can live my life as such without that anger. Now, you know. I'm certainly not going to let some piece of shit scumbag like him ruin my life. Against you, mate. I'm alright.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'll do everything I can to try to find out if he's had further involvement in this, okay? That's the only pledge I can really make to you.
No, I've got time for people like yourself. They're trying to get justice for what happens to people that should never go through what they went through.
When I contacted you, you obviously revealed that you had been abused by Jim Russell at this property in Kew, which I realised was important for my investigation. You kindly offered and volunteered to actually try and identify that house. Obviously, driving past it, it's been traumatic for you. But can you explain why you think it's important to help me, why you've decided to help this way?
That child, right, or any child that's been abused or abducted or anything like that, then, you know, you can't sit around silent if you know something that might have some bearing on it. They're the right sort of people that do that sort of thing, 100%.
And you think that they've got a propensity to kill a child?
Oh, listen, if you don't understand the way that they are, I wouldn't put anything past any one of those men. You ain't dealing with a normal person, are you?
What would it mean to you if I'm able to track down Jim Russell or find out that he's dead? Are you bothered, or do you think that's important to do?
I'd love to hear that he's dead, but at the same time, if he's done anything to anyone else and he hasn't been tried for it and he's still alive, then he should come back and be tried for it. Because he's gotten away scot-free, hasn't he? And the first time he's gotten away scot-free, is it?
And he's never been convicted of offences that he committed against you?
No. No.
Another survivor, who we're calling Amir, also speculates about the possibility that his abusers might have abducted a child, or worse.
You got a child, you abduct a child, what are you going to do, let it go? See you, little man. Couple of bags of sweets. No. They have to cover their tracks. So murder is well within their abilities. You've got to get rid of the evidence.
When I started on this investigation, the retired detectives Sean and Jackie said that I needed to speak to people who were abused by these men to see if there was any detail that could shed light on what was happening there in the early 1980s when Vishal was abducted and murdered. Just from these conversations alone, I've learned that this group were abusing multiple boys, and they had a particular interest in boys of South Asian heritage. I've learned that they were travelling between Muntham House School in Sussex and West London constantly. I've learned that one of them was potentially abusing in Kew in West London at the time, a short drive from where Vishal was last seen. And I've learned that Nicholas Douglas abused children at his mother's house, which was just a 12-minute drive from where Vishal's body was discovered. I go back to Jackie and Sean to ask what they make of this.
Because when you add it all up, when you put it all together, you think these can't be all just coincidental things that's happening. It's too much of a coincidence. And then when you added the background that we know that Nick Douglas and others offended against Asian boys, and one of them left the country clearly intending to find other places to offend against Asian boys, it's just too much. Do you know what I mean? Too much to ignore.
All of this happened over 40 years ago. The survivors are now middle-aged, and Muntham House has long been under new administration. Today it's rated as an outstanding residential school for boys with special educational needs, with exemplary child safeguarding policies. But the question of who abducted and killed 8-year-old Vishal Mehrotra remains as open as it's ever been. It's worth restating that none of these survivors has been interviewed by police about what they remember of their abusers and their activities back then, and how that might connect to Vishal's case. They're keen to tell what they know, and one may hold a vital piece of evidence.
It's nice to meet you.
I'm really, really, really grateful for the time that you've given me. Sorry for causing you upset.
Mate, you haven't caused me no upset at all. This upset started a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, but
Some boys passed, and I understand why you're doing what you're doing. And like I said before, I've nothing but respect for people like yourself. I hope you get justice though, mate. I'd really do for that boy and his family.
Having listened to the survivors' stories, next, it's time for me to track down the men who abused them. We know that they were moving between locations that were minutes from where Vishal was last seen and minutes from where his body was found. We know that they facilitated abuse for each other and that they abused Asian boys, among others. Somehow, I need to find them. I need to ask them what they were doing on the day of the royal wedding back in July 1981. And I need to find out how on earth one of them can explain why he had a folder in his house with the name Vishal on it. Next time.
Hello, Nick. It's Colin from the BBC.
Only 3 of the 4 men have been seen.
I could have been dead. Anything could have happened to me through his perversion. Anything.
The 4th is believed to be resident in Asia and has yet to be traced.
What do you want the police to do?
This has been tasked to our Force Intelligence Bureau.
Why did you call that document Vishal? If you have any information, however minor, that you feel could help our investigation, please contact us confidentially at vishalpodcast@bbc.co.uk. In a statement, Sussex Police said that they were satisfied that their inquiries into possible connections between the school offenders and Vishal's murder had been thorough and that they had found no grounds for further investigation. If you've been affected by child sexual abuse, help and support in the UK is available at bbc.co.uk/action line. If you're listening outside of the UK, please contact support organisations in your country. Vishal is a BBC Studios podcast. It's presented and investigated by me, Colin Campbell. The series was written and produced by Satyesh Manharaja. Audio production, sound design and original music by Steve Urquhart. The executive producer is Alistair Jackson.